Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing the place you've called home for years is suddenly on the brink of a conflict. Your daily life interrupted, your safety uncertain, your future clouded with doubt. That's a possibility many expats in Thailand and Cambodia are facing right now as tensions between the two countries simmer over their shared border. The question is, could this conflict escalate into something more? Could war break out? And if it does, what happens to us, the foreign residents? How might it affect our lives, safety, and even our ability to stay in these countries? In this video, we'll dive into the facts, what you need to know, and how you can make informed decisions about your future in Thailand or Cambodia during this time of uncertainty. Let's break it down. The Thailand-Cambodia border conflict is nothing new. For decades, tensions have been bubbling over disputed land, temples, and territorial claims, most notably the Preah Vihear temple dispute, a centuries-old issue that has triggered clashes between military forces from both sides. In recent months, violence has escalated. The conflict has been largely concentrated near the border, in rural, less populated areas where military presence is strongest. But the big question for us as expats: what happens if the conflict spreads beyond the border? What happens if things spiral out of control? Could this turn into a full-scale war? And if so, how will it impact those of us living in Thailand and Cambodia? Before we get into the specifics, let's tackle some big questions that are probably on your mind right now. It's impossible to predict the future, but history shows that border disputes between neighboring countries often stay localized. The international community, particularly ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, plays a big role in peacekeeping efforts and diplomatic talks, which makes a full-scale war unlikely. However, tensions between countries can quickly escalate depending on political shifts, and military movements in the area could lead to unforeseen consequences. We can't rule out the potential for spillover, especially if one side chooses to escalate or if external forces become involved. As expats, your first concern should be disruptions to daily life, travel, safety, and overall stability. If the conflict spreads, the border would likely close. That would stop overland travel, severely limiting the ability to move freely between the two countries. Flights could also be rerouted or cancelled if airspace becomes restricted. We may even see curfews or travel bans in affected regions. So, what are the specific impacts this conflict could have on expats in Thailand and Cambodia? Let's break it down. First up, travel disruptions. If tensions escalate, both countries will likely shut down border crossings. That means no overland travel between Thailand and Cambodia, a significant issue for many expats who regularly travel between the two. Flights could be delayed or cancelled, especially if airspace becomes restricted. Airports in both countries may also heighten security, which could lead to delays or cancellations. If you're living near the border, you might be asked to relocate to safer areas, especially if the conflict moves into more populated regions. When fighting breaks out, it disrupts supply chains. For example, food and fuel shortages could affect local markets. Prices could go up, and you might see inflation as goods become more expensive due to limited supply. If you live in or near conflict zones, services like healthcare could be delayed, and businesses may be forced to close temporarily. Expats in border regions or tourist hotspots should be aware of economic volatility as the situation develops. Depending on the conflict's scope, local businesses may also feel the strain, especially those dependent on cross-border trade or tourism. In the event of a widespread conflict, governments often issue emergency evacuation orders. Countries like the United States, United Kingdom or Australia often arrange chartered flights to evacuate their citizens if the situation worsens. Embassies may also provide temporary shelter and guide expats to safer locations. However, some governments will issue travel warnings and advisories as early as possible. For example, the United States Department of State and other foreign ministries would likely recommend leaving the country temporarily or avoiding travel to affected regions. Perhaps the most concerning outcome of any escalating conflict is civilian displacement. When fighting spreads, refugees from conflict zones often flee to safer areas, and that puts pressure on local resources like food, water, and medical care. Mental health impacts could also be significant, as anxiety and uncertainty affect everyone, from locals to expats. It's essential to keep an eye on local news and advisories to understand the unfolding situation and act accordingly. Now that you know the potential risks, let's talk about how you can be prepared for anything that comes your way. First, stay informed. Follow official travel advisories from your embassy and local government sources. If you're a US citizen, sign up for alerts from the US Department of State or your country's embassy. Information is power. Knowing when to leave and where to go could be the difference between staying safe and getting stuck in an unstable situation. Make sure you have a clear evacuation plan. Identify safe zones within your city, know your closest embassy or consulate, and plan the quickest routes to get to an airport or alternative borders. If you haven't already, consider checking if your travel insurance covers evacuation in cases of war or civil unrest. Pack important documents like your passport, visas, and insurance details, and keep them in a place that's easy to grab in case you need to leave quickly. A first aid kit, extra medications, and cash are also critical. ATMs might not be working if the conflict intensifies. You should also have emergency food and water if you're in a region that could be cut off from supplies. Now, the question remains, will this escalate into full-scale war? As it stands, it's unlikely, but the situation is still evolving. Both Thailand and Cambodia continue to negotiate, but peace talks are far from certain, especially if one side wants to dismantle the other side's ability to wage future attacks. Nonetheless, the international community is invested in keeping things contained and trying to broker a peaceful settlement as quickly as possible to reduce the threat of a conflict that spreads out from these two countries' common border. If the conflict escalates, things on the ground could deteriorate quickly, and in ways we aren't prepared for or expect. For now, as an expat, your best bet is to stay aware, prepared, and adaptable. Keep monitoring the situation, stay in touch with your embassy, and make sure your evacuation plans are in place. This conflict may stay localized, or it could spill into something bigger, but with the right information and plans, you can keep yourself safe. Thanks for watching. If you're an expat in Thailand or Cambodia, let us know in the comments how you're feeling about the situation, and share any tips you might have for fellow expats. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.